Hi guys, and welcome to this, let's call it a first impressions of some of the IEMs that have been with me over the last couple of weeks, and some of them even already months, and that hopefully I will be bringing a full review for them in the coming days. Not all of them, obviously, but I would also like to hear from you guys which ones would you like me to review first, and obviously then talk in more detail, as this is just going to be kind of like just a general idea. One of the first IEMs, the first IEM that I'm going to be talking to you about is an IEM that I've actually already mentioned previously. It's an IEM from Celest. It's called the Rue. Okay, it's this small IEM, costing around $12. It sports a 6mm driver. As I've mentioned already before, when I talked about this particular IEM in a post that I did, I cannot unfortunately tell you which other IEM uses this same 6mm driver. What I will say is that it's a very, very good IEM. Excuse me. And this Rue uses exactly the same driver. Obviously, here it's being used as a full range in a full range application, whereas in that other IEM, it's used in a tribrid, quadribrid, I think actually, configuration, and it's used for the bass. The Rue has a sound that graphically you look at it and the graph actually looks very appealing, and when you then listen to it, a lot of the graph can be translated into the actual sound. It's got a great big bass, which yes does translate itself into a sound which is warm, very much organic. It will not be an IEM that will please those that are wanting a detail monster, although I have to admit that if initially it kind of, it's not that it in any way upset me or made me feel that it was overly dark or anything of the sort. No, I just thought, okay, it's a little bit overly warm, maybe, the reality is, once I started listening to it and once my brain started adapting to it, the brain burn and all that, the reality is this: the Rue, yes, might not be an IEM that is a detail monster, but it is an IEM that definitely does grow on you. At least it grew on me, and I have to say that I absolutely love hearing it. It's got this got this very cozy, old school type of sound, and when you remember that it's actually just a small little 6mm driver that's doing this and giving you all this performance, it becomes even more impressive, because it definitely does have a bass that, although yes big, although not the last word in terms of speed and detail and so on and so forth, it is a very entertaining bass presentation, larger than life, very nice mids, and really the only fault that you can point at it is because of that let's say overly energetic performance in the bass and in the mids, then the highs, the upper mids and the highs, or maybe excessively thrown back and make the sound a little bit dark. But it's very, very entertaining sound. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you guys obviously want me to talk about the Rue in a little bit more detail, although I'm basically already saying everything that really needs to be said, but if you guys want me to compare it with other IEMs, I'll be glad to do it, and that's it. Anyway, that's the Rue for you guys. The second IEM that I'm going to be telling you about is an IEM from Zhulinniao, known for the Z4, which was launched last year. It was an IEM that used a very smart implementation of a DLC driver, offering with the detachable nozzles, cost around $50 something, at a phenomenal presentation. and it had a sound which was very mid-focused, very vocal focused, absolutely brilliant when it came to that department. This now is the Z3, and it's got again a phenomenal bass, phenomenal build quality, really nice shell, costs around the $40 price point. The interesting thing here is, if you notice, you've got one vent there, you've got a second vent over there, and another one over there. So it uses a very smart bass system, or maze system rather, to give the Z3 its bass performance. And in terms of the overall sound, it's got about a 10 and a 6 millimeter inside. But in terms of the overall sound, it's got a sound which very much reminds me of the Tri-Draco, the TRI Draco, although that one is an 8 and a 6. But the overall kind of sound that they're giving here is very much the same thing. So, and what I mean, it's a sound which is it's got a very nice big bass, great mid bass, great mids, upper mids, and then yes, the overall extension up top, maybe a little bit relaxed, but it gives you once again a nice, warm, organic type of presentation, which is very entertaining, and a welcomed addition to the Zhulinniao, let's say, sound style. They haven't, in my opinion, yet defined let's say a house sound per se, but they have these two versions now. They have the Z3 and the Z4 offering two distinctive sound profiles, and either one of them has done the job phenomenally well, and that's it. So the Zhulinniao, the Z3 here. The next one excuse me, the next one I'm going to be talking to you about is the Tiandirenhe, or Tiandirenhe, I hope I'm saying that correctly, which is the TD19, a single dynamic driver. It uses a graphene driver of 11 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. Very nice resin shell. One of the IEMs that I have to say, in stock format, fits absolutely beautifully in my ears. Not that I have complicated ears, because they actually are quite welcoming to most IEMs, but I have to say that this IEM, the design they've given the nozzle, the length, the overall shape, it almost feels like it was a custom IEM, okay? In terms of the sound, if you guys recall the Ibasso Gelato Junior, this is basically what we have here in terms of sound. It's that sort of sound, which is a mid-bass focused sound with a roll-off into the sub-bass, a nicely executed mids, that transition to the mids into the upper mids as well, very nicely executed. And then maybe, although in the Ibasso the upper mids and treble are still a little bit energetic, or quite energetic, here they're a little bit more relaxed, but the overall sound that you are getting is still very, very similar to the Gelato. And it's nice to see brands being brave in adopting a tuning style which is just not the normal Harman tuning style. And once again, I mean, here we have an example of that. The TD19 has, in my opinion, done the job very nicely. This can be bought for anywhere between $30 and $45, depending if you want it with cable or not. And I think it's honestly an IEM that, although yes, it's got loads of competition at that price point. I mean, the Chapeau and the Vivace, the C2 from Tin Hi-Fi, the Blon 03, the second, the 2, if you want to put the MK2. I mean, you got loads and loads of IEMs at this price point. The Keyfind, the Clean, it's also more or less at the same price. So it's not that it lacks any competition. It's plenty competition. What it however has or brings to the party is a different tuning style, which is in my opinion, really, it's been really well done and engaging, and something that at least it's worthwhile you saying to yourself, well, I'm gonna maybe just get a different IEM from the normal, more common type of tunings that most brands are using. And in that aspect, the TD19 ticks the right boxes. So that's the TD19 for you guys there. The next one is the Leteciel Shark. This is an IM that is commercialized by Panon. This is around $120, give or take. It's a 3 dynamic driver IM, and this IM, to cut a very long story short, it's basically the same thing as the IVP-IQ14, the Shanghai. So it's got a 10, an 8, and a 6 millimeter driver inside. And if you guys remember my review of the Shanghai, I said that it was like a baby cereal, the Panon cereal, which is one of my favorite IMs. And this is very much, this is exactly the same as the Shanghai. It's not very much. This is exactly the same as the Shanghai. It's a little bit more expensive, true. It does offer questionably a better overall accessories package. But in terms of sound, it's solid. It's well built, a nice resin shell, nice faceplate. It plays the business. Look, it's a Shanghai. And if you guys like the Shanghai, you will definitely like this one. Okay, so that's the Leteciel there for you. The next one, as you've noticed, I've been talking about mainly more budget-oriented IMs, although the Leteciel was already over $100. The next one is the Rose Technics Aurora Ultra. This is a 2-driver IM. It has a 10 millimeter dynamic driver and a 6 millimeter planar. So it uses one of these micro planars, but the planar which is actually round and not that like this that looks like that like a BA. It's how can I say this? It's a very light IM, so when you pick it up, which is something, by the way, that Rose Techniques has a tendency of doing, it's a very light IM, and kind of, you know, it feels a little bit flimsy, but after you start using it and it's on, you actually see it's quite sturdy. It's got a combination of plastic, or I don't think it's resin, plastic and metal shell. Brings some pretty decent tips, and the sound, again, it's a sound which, it's not like the sound of the Mimosa from Celeste, from Queen of Audio, but it's kind of along the lines of that vibe of sound. So nicely executed bass, nicely executed mids, clean highs. I think it's an IM that, because of its shape, the main determining factor that will set the stage for how it will perform will be how it fits you. I think that's the main thing. The cable, I have to say that although I like the cable, in terms of it being this kind of, covered in cloth, this section here, which goes from the cinch to the actual IM, has a tendency of being a little bit on the unruly side, as you guys can see. And the ear hook as well is very pronounced, which also doesn't help. So I've already actually tried it with a different cable, and I will continue with that other cable. I just used it now here I used the stock cable down here for you guys to see. Anyway, that's the one thing that this has going against it, let's put it that way. Nice accessories package. It brings a dongle, which I think it's again a nice addition to this whole equation. Nice carrying case, very nicely done IM. For the $45 more or less that it costs, I think it's great value, and something that maybe should be considered if you're looking for something different in terms of a planar with a dynamic driver. Something unusual, something not commonly seen, but I have a feeling will become way more common. So that's that one out of the way. Next, the KZ, the Zenith. This time a unit which is in 100% perfect condition. My first unit, unfortunately, wasn't the best. Phenomenal build quality. That's what I can say. It's got the tuning switches. It's got that new driver that KZ is manufacturing, which has got this great big voice coil, and that does ultimately help or dictate how this performs. It's not a bass monster. It's got adequate bass. I think it's the mids, the upper mids and the treble that really are the star of the show here, although you have those tuning switches that can help. with the bass. It's not the bass that's the main emphasis here, which is something which is unusual for KZ, let's put it that way. I would consider the Zenith a polished saga, okay, or a polished. It's very much a more polished saga with slightly lower bass, kind of a saga balanced. Sounds really good. All the hype that has been put forward for it is justified. It really is a phenomenal sounding IM. It's got a lot of the vibes of IMs from past, like the Tangzu Oxygen. Yes, it does have that kind of vibe. Yes, it does compete against the let's say the references is under $100, the likes of the Delchi, the likes of the Clean from Keyfine, the likes of Moondrop, the Aria 2 as well. It definitely does compete against that. So it definitely does compete against the players in that are usually in this sub $100 price point. That are already, you know, making a name for themselves. The Sim got the EA500, the LM. Again, I think this is an IM that, yes, can trade blows with the EA500. Okay, fair enough. The price that they're asking for it, obviously, again, is substantially higher price point than what usually you see with KZ. But you know what? For something that plays this well and is this competent, I think, yes, it's worth every penny. That's basically what I can say as well. All right, so that's that one. Let's get this one out of the way here, because I think this one will be something that is gonna be very interesting to many of you. This is an IM known from SymphonyEars, made by Isaiah, young man called Isaiah. I'm not going to say his second name because I feel that I'm going to pronounce it badly, so I prefer not to say it, so please forgive me. This is the Hexad, which is an IM having, oh my god, IM, let's see if I could maybe show you. It sports 2 dynamic drivers, as you can see there, in a quasi-isobaric setup, and 4 VAs, all right, in a beautifully handmade resin shell. And what I can tell you is that this young man truly has a gift. I bought the Tetrad, which was a 1+3 from him as well, and absolutely adored that IM. Very unusual looking in terms of the graph. You look at the graph and you think to yourself, okay, and then when you listen to it, you're absolutely blown away by how good it sounds. And this again, the same situation. It's a different tuning style to the tuning style of the Tetrad. There's more energy in the upper mid and treble. There's significantly more energy in the bass. So this is an IM that costs around $250, and you know, it should and must be compared to the likes of the Hype 4, of the Blessing Dusk. It's along those lines in terms of its configuration. And in terms of sound, I'll tell you this much: it holds its own very well. And I think actually it even outdoes a lot of the big names with this configuration out there. And if for no other particular reason, it's built by a young man that has to buy all the parts, not get the parts at a reduced price, because it's not a big manufacturer, so they buy in volume. And when you consider that he hand builds them, you consider that he spent time tuning, R&Ding this, and he's asking $250, $240, I believe, for this sort of craftsmanship, and coupled with an equally impressive amount of performance. You can't criticize him. You have to applaud him, and I truly hope that Isaiah will grow and will become one day a name that is synonymous with portable audio in a very good manner, because like I said, the man knows what he's doing. In terms of sound, obviously I'll do a more in-depth, detailed review about it, but what I can say is very impressive sound, very impressive. Okay, so that's that. Tangzu, Zetian, the legend, the latest one from, oops, no, this is not the legend, my apologies, this is the Beiji. I've got it here for another reason, which I'll get into it. Yes, this one. So, Zetian, the legend, this is the latest planar, a continuation to the Zetian, the original one, and the Heyday, which was a collaboration with HBB. This has, as its calling card, the fact that it's using two planars, a larger 14 point something millimeter driver, and then a smaller 6 millimeter driver, which is a first. We've had planars and PAs, we've had planars and PCTs, but nobody had done this before. And again, not wanting to jump ahead too much, what I can say about this is the sound is very, very impressive. I mean, look, all of these IEMs have impressed me in their own particular manner. But there are obviously those ones that stood out the most. And this is one of those that stood out the most because I was very curious to see what Tangzu was able to do with this setup. I mean, in terms of the build quality, the accessories, nothing to be said. They're absolutely phenomenal. But the sound they got is a sound which I firmly believe is a definite solid upgrade over the Zetian, the original one, and the Heyday edition. Clean, detailed, highly musical. It just sounds very hi-fi, let's put it that way, okay? So that's the Zetian there, out of the way. Let me just open this box and put this stuff inside here so it doesn't get lost. And that's that. We're down to the last three, although you see more than 3 boxes here. This is the Apevoix Grit. It's an IM that has, first of all, a very cool carrying case, big, not exactly pocketable, and it's an IM which basically has got the same configuration as the Puller Anvil 114. And what does that mean? It means it's a DD, a bone conduction, and 4 BA. So it's basically a 1+4 plus a bone conduction. That's the, let's say, the difference that it has. You know, in terms of it being a 1+4, we've seen and we've heard plenty 1+4s, but much like the Puller, the Grit has a very well implemented bone conduction driver, and that bone conduction driver does what it's supposed to do, and it gives that extra snappiness to the sound, that extra cleanliness. It gives you that more sensation of realism, with no tunnel vision, with no tunnel sound like we get sometimes when the implementations are not done as competently. This is $229 from Linsol. I got this from Linsol. Compared to the Puller, obviously I will get into more detail, but what I can say is that yes, it plays, it's very similar to the Puller, let's put it that way, and they very much trade blows between each other. So ultimately the deciding factor here will be a deciding factor that comes down to the price, obviously. But you know, nice, really nice. I'd never heard about this brand. Really nice, like I said, nice carrying case. Not a ton of accessories, but adequate, decent cable, cool, very nice. And then finally, the IM. Well, not finally. Sorry, my apologies. Let's first talk about this one, which is not finally, which is the Hisenior, the Mega 5 EST, the base edition, okay, which is a follow-up to the original Mega 5 EST 7th anniversary, which caused all the rage with multiple big names, you know, praising it for its meta style tuning, as it became known. And this base edition is basically the OG Mega 5 EST 7th anniversary, with an added bass performance that can vary anywhere between 3 to 6 dBs depending on which dongle you use and what that dongle introduces in terms of the sound signature. And like I said, when I do the full review on that, you will understand what I'm talking about. In terms of sound, what I can say is that it's a meta. It's the original Mega 5 EST, but because it's got that more bass energy, then it's a bit more a bit more fun is understandable. It's a hell of a lot more fun if you found that the original one was boring. I didn't find it boring, to be honest. I found that it was very adequate. Yes, one or two songs maybe I would have liked a little bit more energy, a little bit more guts, but I found that the original one was a phenomenally well tuned IM, very much deserving of all the praise that it got. And this, although it's got substantially more bass, I didn't feel that in any way took away from the performance of the original. I think that maybe perhaps in a different parallel universe, Hisenior could have done the two of them in one go, in the sense that they could have maybe have added a switch to the original one to give that extra bass boost that this has, much like Duno did with the SA6. But they didn't decide to do it that way. They decided to do it separately. You know, whatever rocks their boat. That it's their prerogative, their decision. I think that if you have the original one, there's no necessity now to sell it and get this one. You can always EQ it, or then you can do what I did when I actually was listening to various dongles and so on and so forth. And what I found was that depending on what dongle you use, not only does it affect the bass level on this, but it also affects the bass level on the original one. So you might be able to get the original one to have a performance which is very much similar to this in terms of having that extra bass guts. And I think that was one of the reasons why I also didn't find the original one to be too tame or boring or anything along the lines of like that, because when I listened to it with the dongle, and I'll get into the details when I review it, the dongle that actually brought out the best performance of the original Mega 5 EST. Yeah, that's basically it, and that's that for the Mega 5 EST. And then finally, like I was saying, we have here this IM from SoundRhyme. And I brought out just these two so that you guys can understand or get an idea already of what my opinion about the SoundRhyme is. Okay, what do I have here? I've got here the Panon Voltage, which is 2 dynamic drivers, 4 BAs, and 4 ESTs. And I've got here as well the ISN EBC80, which is again two dynamic drivers, 2 BAs and 2 ESTs, and 2 bone conductions. So either one of these two are IEMs, which are basically top flagship for their respective brands, at least currently. And both are 2 of my favorite IEMs of the whole collection that I have. They both have a sound which is very much the Panon ISN house sound. And the SoundRhyme now here with the DTE264 has taken that formula of the voltage, which is the two dynamic drivers, and added 2 more BAs. So you got 6 BAs and 4 ESTs, and given us a sound that, although we don't have the tuning switches like we have here on the voltage, which enable for a little bit more tuning, or we don't have the extra bone conductions here of the ISN EBC80. It's just one tuning, that's it. What I can say about the DTE264 is that I was absolutely blown away by how well tuned this IM is and how competent it sounds. This thing doesn't want to. There we go. It sounds absolutely phenomenal, from bass to mids to upper mids to treble. There is absolutely nothing that I can, at least in my roughly 40 hours that I've been hearing it so far, can point as a negative aspect. It sounds very much like the 10th anniversary from Tangzu Mirai, taken not one or two steps above, but a substantial amount of steps above. Like I said, it seems to have taken the Tangzu Mirai's 10th anniversary best balance in terms of bass into the mids and to the upper mids, and then added onto it the ESTs to give that extra sparkle and detail and resolution up top. And boy, oh boy, did they do a seriously good job. Yes, fair enough, it is $999, it is $1,000, so it's not going to be an IM, unfortunately, that many are going to be able to afford, but it is an IM that I think that those that at least have the opportunity to listen to it, they should listen to it, because I have absolutely no doubts that it is an IM that it's capable of keeping up with the best offerings from TA Audio. I have not had the opportunity, unfortunately, to listen to the Origin and to listen to a few other top of the line TA Audio IMs that have received all the rave and rage and hype and so on and so forth. And the only reason why I haven't been able to listen to them is very simple. Nobody has actually either sent me a unit for me to listen to. So unfortunately, I wasn't that lucky. And on the other hand, I also wasn't able to get a more interesting price. I mean, I'm not gonna stand here and say that yes, as a reviewer, I don't get some extra discounts. I do get brands do sometimes give me, well, not sometimes, but most of the times give me an added discount on the particular IM that I want to review. Occasionally, I actually get a free IM sent to me, and that does in no way affect my, in my opinion about the brand. When it comes to, for example, Penon and ISN, I have been very well treated, let me put it that way, but I also do the return, and the reality is this. There were many IMs that I had already reviewed from Penon before I even got any special treatment in terms of discount from them. I've never received a unit for free. I've always gotten discounts, and I had already reviewed countless IMs from Penon. I already established myself as a unconditional Penon and ISN fan before any of those perks started coming my way. So, you know, I don't have to seem like I am a shill or anything, because no, I think the guy, you know, you guys that know me and have followed me for more time, you know what sort of a person I have. I'll speak my mind, I'll say what it is. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I mean, for example, with regards to KZ, I've been vocal plenty times, and that hasn't stopped me from carry on reviewing their IEMs and buying their IEMs, and because I think that's part of the whole thing. I mean, if an IEM is good, I talk good about it. If the IEM is not so good, I talk not so good about it. End of story. But getting back here to the DTE264, which is what is important, what I can say is that this is a really nice IEM. It's got a bass that is a little bit heavier than the bass of the voltage. Perhaps a bass more similar to the EBC in certain instances. Very well executed mids, very well executed upper mids, and the treble is absolutely to die for. If I have to give perhaps a comparison or a sort of an idea of what this kind of also sounds like, this kind of sounds like the Penant, the 10th anniversary, the IM that they launched, I believe now 2 years ago. It sounds like that taken up again a couple of steps. So, you know, the Tangzu Mirai, the Penon, those anniversary edition IMs that were in their own right phenomenal IMs. This has kind of taken that basis of tuning, of sound, and pushed it up quite a few steps. And, you know, it doesn't take much. I mean, you put it on your ears, you put it in your ears, and from the first song that I heard, the 264, I said to myself, oh my god, this is really, really good. And without question, the 264 is now part of that group of IMs that I have as my favorite IMs. You know, that just perform well and they tick all the boxes, and that's it. That's basically what I can say. Anyway, guys, I'm not going to prolong myself here too much. Like I said, this was just to kind of give you an overview of what I have here, of what I have been listening to over the last couple of weeks. You guys now let me know which ones you want me to review first, and I'll do my very best to work on those reviews first before the others, or before I follow the plan that I had established. All right. Anyway, guys, you take care now. Bye bye.